Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Mina. In this video, you're going to learn how to draft a pattern for this milkmaid dress. If this looks like what you're interested in, please stick around. Let's dive straight into the video. The first thing is to draw out a starting line. So this starting line is also going to serve as a shoulder line. So from that starting line, which is my shoulder line, I'll place my tape there and I'll come down by my bust point. So the bust point I'm working with is 10 inches. So from shoulder down to bust point is 10 inches. I'll mark 10 inches there. Then I'll use my straight ruler to rule the line across. The next thing is to take my shoulder to under bust. I'll still place my tape on the starting line, which is the shoulder line, and I'll come down by 13.5. So the under bust I'm working with is 13.5. I'll mark 13.5 there. So go ahead and measure from your shoulder down to your under bust and mark what you have. Then after that, go ahead and rule a straight line across your under bust line. After that, the next thing is to take my shoulder to waistline. The shoulder to waistline I'm working with is 17 inches. So I'll mark 17 inches across. Then I'll use my straight ruler to roll a line across. So go ahead and do the same thing. Place your tape on the shoulder line and come down by your waistline. Go ahead and mark what you have. So this is my bust point line, this is my under bust, and this is my waistline, which is WL. The next thing is to draft a basic neckline of 3 by 3. So from the center front, I'll come in by 3 inches. Then still from the shoulder line, I'll come down by 3 inches and mark. So a basic neckline is 3 by 3 inches. When you are done marking it, use a curve ruler and connect them together. The next step is to take shoulder measurement. The shoulder measurement I'm working with is 7.5. That is 15 inches divided by 2. That's 7.5. I'll mark where I have 7.5. Then on that point, I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. Then I'll connect it into the neck width as shown. So I'll place my tape on the shoulder slope and measure my chest line. To determine this, what you have to do is to divide your bust circumference by 6 and add 1.5 to it. When I divided mine, I got 7.6. So the 7.6, I'll go ahead and mark where I have that and I'll roll a line across the 7.6. Go ahead and do the same thing. Divide the bust circumference by 6 and add 1.5 to it. Whatever you have, use that as your chest line. After marking out your chest line, bring what you have as your shoulder measurement to the chest line. So 7.5 is what I have there. I'll bring it down here and mark. This is to have a straight line for my armhole. So I'll connect it into the shoulder slope as shown. In order to plot your armhole, place your tape on the shoulder slope and measure what you have from the shoulder to the chest line. Go ahead and fold your tape into 2 to determine the midpoint. Mark what you have as the midpoint. Then from the midpoint, go in by ½ inch, like so. Go in by ½ inch and mark what you have there. Then on the chest line, mark quarter of your bust circumference. That is your bust circumference divided by 4. The bust circumference I'm working with is 37. 37 divided by 4, that is 9.2. So 9.2 is what I just marked. After that, use a curve ruler to connect all the dotted lines together. So place your tape like so from the shoulder into the midpoint ½ inch that you marked and down to your bust circumference like so. So we've been able to create our armhole. I'll go ahead and extend this line a little to meet my bust circumference. We are done plotting our armhole. The next step is to plot our dart. So on the bust point, I'll mark half of my bust span measurement. The bust span I'm working with is 9 inches divided by 2. That's 4.5. So I'll mark 4.5 on the bust point, on the under bust line, and also on the waistline. Then I'll use a straight ruler to connect all of them together, just like so. So that serves as my dart leg. On the waistline, I'll place my tape there as shown. Then I'll mark ½ inch on both sides of the dart. I'll mark ½ inch on one side and mark ½ inch on the other side as shown. Then I'll use my straight ruler to connect it into the bust point. In order to achieve this effect you are seeing around the bust area, On the under bust line, I'll go up by 1 inch. On that line as shown, I'll go up by 1 inch. Then I'll connect it slantly into the under bust that leg, into the that leg like so. So go ahead and do the same thing. Go up by 1 inch on the under bust line, then use your ruler and connect it slantly into the dart leg as shown. The next step is to use your curve ruler, place it as shown, connect from the second dart leg into the armhole like so. So I'll go ahead and follow that armhole line. I'll connect it into the second dart leg. After that, the next step is to place your ruler and connect from this point into the chest line. You can see my illustration, right? Go ahead and place your ruler, your curve ruler as shown, connect it slantly into the chest line. So I had to use a different marker so you can see the cup we are trying to achieve, or the cup effect we are trying to achieve. As we proceed, you see how we are going to use this cup to achieve that effect you are seeing around the bust area. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to input all my measurements. So I've already marked quarter of my bust circumference on the chest line. Then on the waistline, I'll mark quarter of the waist circumference I'm working with, which is 7.5. Then I'll also replace the dart of 1 inch. Then I'll come in with a stretch ruler and connect it into my bust measurement like so. So go ahead and do the same thing on the waistline. Take quarter of your waist circumference and the dart intake, go ahead and replace it. Then connect it into the bust circumference. On the waistline, I'll add 1.5 inch as my seam allowance. On the chest line, I'll also add 1.5 inch as my seam allowance. Then I'll use my stretch ruler to connect them together. So the first line I connected was my accurate measurement, while this one is for my allowance. Then I'll use my curve ruler to blend that part in, just like so. After blending this part, I'll also use my marker pen to make the armhole line more visible. The next step is to go ahead and cut it. We will not be using that part that has pencil line. Where we'll be making use of is from the chest line down to the waistline. So just pay attention to how I'm cutting it. The part I'm cutting is where I'll be using. Before I trace out the cup effect, I would like to use this pattern to trace the bag. So I'll go ahead and draft the bag first before I trace out the cup effect. So I've gone ahead to introduce a new paper which I'm going to use to draft the bag. I would mark 1.5 inch for my zipper allowance. Then I'll use my stretch ruler to connect the 1.5 inch line as shown. I'm so sorry that part wasn't showing clearly. Bring in the front and place on that line of zipper allowance, just on that line. I'll place it as shown, and this down part has to be on the edge of this paper as well. So make sure you're placing it on that line of the zipper, and this down part has to align as shown. Go ahead and use a pin to secure it just like this. After securing it, go ahead and trace it out. So I'll trace out the side, and I'll also trace out the armhole. There is no point tracing the slanted effects because we are not going to be making use of that. So that line, we are just going to identify where it stops on the chest line, just like so. Then the next step is to transfer the darts as well. So I'll go ahead and transfer my darts. So the back has to be lower than the front. That's why I said there was no point tracing out the slanted effect in the front. So what you have to do is just maybe you go down by 1 inch or 1.5 inch from the chest line. You can see from that line that I marked, go down by 1 inch or 1.5 inch. It actually depends on how low you want your back to look. Okay. So I just went down by 1 inch from the chest line. Then after that, go ahead and connect your darts. After tracing the back, I'll go ahead and label it back. To eliminate zipper bulge around the zipper area, on the waistline, I'll mark 1/2 inch Then I'll connect it slantly into the upper part, just like so. After connecting it, I'll go ahead and shade where I'll cut out. Then after that, I'll go ahead and cut it out. I didn't trace out the cup effect in front because I needed to use the pattern to draft my bag. So now I'm going to trace it out. This is how it looks after I was done tracing it out. You can see we are going to apply slash and spread method in order to achieve that effect in front. We have two cup effects. I'll be using this one that is plain to apply my slash and spread method. But before then, I'll have to transfer this bust points line. You'll see why we have to transfer this bust points line as we proceed. Go ahead and transfer your bust points line just like so. Then mark it out. The next step is to slash it by 1 inch apart from the next one. So I'll mark 1 inch, the next one will be 1 inch, just like that. Go ahead and do the same thing all the way to the last one. So I'll just stop there. This one is up to 1 inch, but it's just 1.5 inch, so there is no point slashing the last one. Then after that, go ahead and outline all the 1 inch you've marked as shown. After that, I'll go ahead and label them. So one, that's two, three, four, five. So I have like 7 here. I've gone ahead to introduce a new paper. This is where I will be slashing this on. So I'll slash and spread it on this paper. And this is like the midpoint. So go ahead and identify the midpoints. Outline the midpoint like so. So the next step is to slash the paper. After slashing the cup effects, go ahead and place it as shown on the new paper you introduce. Make sure the line you have on the pieces is on the same line with the new paper you introduce. Okay, so place it like so. Go ahead and pin it down. After securing number 1 with your pin, mark like 1.5 inch away from number 1 and place number 2. So you can decide to mark like 2 inches apart. It actually depends on how full you want it to look. After marking 1.5 inch away from number 1, I'll introduce number 2, and it has to also sit on that line. Make sure it's sitting on that line. The reason you have to make this sit on the same line is at least to have that cup effect sitting accurately. This is just like a guide for you to have the cup effect sit accurately. After securing number 2 with your pin, go ahead and mark 1.5 inch apart from the next one and introduce number 3. Do the same thing till you get to the last one. After spreading it, go ahead and trace it out. So I'll use my marker pen to trace it out like so. When you are done tracing it out, add ½ inch seam allowance round as well. After adding ½ inch seam allowance round, go ahead and cut it out. I really can't figure out if I did not video when I was cutting this out, when I was adding my half inch and when I was cutting it out. So sorry about that, but go ahead and trace it out like this and add half inch seam allowance round before you cut it out. So this is how it looks after I was done adding half inch seam allowance round and cutting it out. So we are going to gather this into this one that has this W effect. I'll cut like two of it. I'll gather one into one part and gather the next one into the other side. So the next thing I will do is to eliminate my darts. I don't want to take the darts on my dress, so I just want to eliminate the dart on this pattern paper. If you want to hold your dart, you can just leave it, and when you're transferring the fabric, just transfer everything and hold your dart on your fabric. But I don't want to hold my dart on the main fabric, so I have to eliminate it on this pattern paper. Go ahead and trace the dart as shown to this other side, so it will be easier for you to eliminate the dart on both sides. To eliminate this dart, I'll cut one leg of the dart and I'll use it to cover the other leg, just like so. So go ahead and do the same thing. When you cover it like this, when you place it on it as shown, use your solo tape to tape it down. I'm equally going to do the same thing to this side. So I'll slash one leg of the dart open, then I'll use it to cover the other leg of my dart. I'll as well use my solo tape to tape it down. So we've been able to eliminate the dart we have on this front part. We are also going to do the same thing to the back. I don't want to hold the dart on the back as well, so I'll go ahead and eliminate it the same way I did for the front. So I'll go ahead and slash it open from the dart leg, then I'll use it to cover the second dart leg. I'll place it on it as shown, then I'll use my solo tape to tape it down. Like I said, if you want to hold your dart, you can just leave it and hold your dart. So we are done drafting the back and the front pattern we'll be using to make our dress. In our next video, we are going to transfer this to fabric and we'll sew it together. If you're yet to subscribe to the channel, please consider smashing the subscribe button and also like the video. If you have any question, let me know in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching till this point. See you guys in my next video. Bye.